Hi, my name is Chris Liddle, and I am the host of The Lifestyle Chase. In 2018, I started this show to have meaningful conversations. I've interviewed over 100 different people, both in and out of the fitness industry. This podcast is something I'm incredibly proud of. Welcome to Season 4. Thanks for joining me. All right, so welcome to the Lifestyle Chase, and I am joined by a return guest, the one and only Ula Kaniuch. Did I get it right this time?
You got it right.
Okay, because I actually went back to the old episode. I was like, I knew I kind of screwed it up, so I'm going to be better this time. I did my best. You were last on the show for episode 24, which is back January 17th, 2019. And now we're here
Wild.
for episode 199. How are you doing?
I'm great. I can't believe that much time has passed. So when you had asked me to come on again, I was shocked, and I kind of wanted number 200, but I understand if you have a special guest or a special plan for it. But it just, 199 is so close.
Yeah, I mean, I there was a chance that I was going to record episode 200 from a plane, but I
Mm,
don't think it's going to time out quite right. Like that is something that might actually happen. But in the meantime, I've just been trying to stay on track with the amount of episodes I've been putting out because I find that like the amount of personal development that it gives me and the perspective and
hmm
being able to connect with people and sometimes circle back, which is what brings us here. It's you've done so much in the last couple years. If you can kind of recall to where you were when we were last on the show and kind of fill in the gaps, like what's life been like the last couple years?
Yeah, so I guess the biggest change is I moved across the country. I now live in Ottawa, which was a big change and not expected. I guess it's not like I planned to move to Ottawa, but here I am. So I've been here since October of last year, so almost a year, coming on a year right away. And I'm trying to remember where I was 2 years ago, and I was like, I think doing social media. I think I had just left Lululemon or about to leave Lululemon. And I'm actually now in-house with the one of my clients. So I went in-house with them. And I'm coming up on, I think it'll be 2 years soon with them. So it kind of lines up in my mind. And yeah, I feel like 2 years ago, I was just moving into being self-employed. I was not really doing a lot of photography, if any at all, versus now I would consider that like a cornerstone of my career and like what I do. So it's kind of a wild change. And I moved across the country and I found my partner. So here I am. I probably was single at the time 2 years ago. So it's a complete change. Everything has changed and in a great way.
Well, the thing that I like about it, because like I recently listened to the episode to kind of get like refreshed with it and everything. And everything that you were saying there, you're accurate with all your reflections. But like it just goes to show if a person's patient with life, how much can change. And I know that's something that I struggle with sometimes. I struggle with patience. I'll feel like why aren't things coming together? But then you can see like through other people's experiences how many things can kind of come together and how like patience can pay off and just hard work and consistency can pay off like throughout everything that you do. There's certain things that come up that are consistent that help you. Like I've noticed in my observations, you tend to be someone who makes decisions with integrity and you are very loyal to your people. And no matter what context that gets applied to, it turns into things.
hmm
I've always kind of been curious, like what was the turning point that spurred on the move? Like what made you think, okay, time to pick up and relocate to a new place?
Funny enough, it was not really by choice. It was by like I chose to come here. But Corey, my partner, he's doing his postdoc. So we were really early on in our relationship. It's kind of wild. And we joke now that if the timing was almost like the week after we started dating, shutdown happened. And so people might have thought, oh my God, they're just like a COVID couple, but it's not that. It's just the timing aligned that way. And so he just finished his PhD and was just applying for postdocs, and he was unsure where he was going to land. It could have been anywhere. I know at one point it could have been Australia. So when it turned out to be Ottawa, I was kind of like, as much as I would love Australia, it's kind of like, oof, that's a little bit easier and not as crazy just to like go with the flow. And I decided I didn't want to do a long distance relationship. It's not what I wanted to do. And I know he was worried for my career. It is different out here, career wise for me. I'm not bilingual, so it's a bit difficult to find work for someone in my career path if you don't speak French. And I just thought, you know what, my job's a job. I'll figure it out. And I was lucky enough that the company I went in house with, yeah, everyone's at this point, pretty much everyone's working from home, so it really doesn't matter anymore. And it's really changed what work can be like. Yeah, so we're in Ottawa now, and we might move again. We don't know.
Well, I mean, when we reflect on like the last episode, you talked a lot about working from home, and like I've just been in like the zone of talking to person after person after person about working from home because of all these episodes from like the COVID times. And then I
Hmm.
realized I was like, that's before we even knew that was a thing. That was before like working from home was popularized. It was like you were probably one of my few guests that actually used that term. And so what I liked is that you had a greater understanding of like the boundaries that needed to be in place to successfully
Hmm.
do that. And
Hmm.
you had learned a lot of lessons from past business experiences and how to like uphold those connections no matter where you relocate to. Like when you first landed, um, what were the first things that went through your head? Like finding a place and all those things. Like what did you have to navigate to break through?
Yeah, well, actually, just the work from home thing. I have always had my goal to be that I could work from anywhere in the world. I wanted to be mobile in that sense. I've had experiences in my life where, my family's not where I live, and that makes it difficult. So working in an office setting has never been something I had wanted to do, and actually going in-house was almost difficult for me. I was unsure whether I should do it. I was unsure if I should kind of, I don't want to say give up, but like it kind of felt for a sec like, oh my God, I'm self-employed. Why would I go work for a company? But what I saw was the ability to work with a really amazing team. And I knew I was going to grow and learn. And like I really, really have. It's really pushed me in ways that working by myself, I could never do. And now I can't imagine not having a team, whether I'm self-employed or not. I think I will always want to have a team to work with. So when I was making the move over to Ottawa, I told them like I don't want to leave. Like I'm not quitting, but I'm moving. So those are my values. It's my partner first. And second is my job. So if you let me continue working for you, I will continue working for you from Ottawa. And I do my best to actually match Edmonton time just to make it smoother for the office. And yeah, it's worked out wonderfully. And when we're coming out here, I won't lie, it was a little wild. Like, I mean, it's cross country. I'm moving during COVID. Um, it's renting is very different in Ottawa. So we spent a lot of time searching for apartments, and I had never been in the city. My partner had, so at least he kind of knew the neighborhoods, and that kind of helped. And we did a video walkthrough, and like on the video, I was like, "Let's take it," because it's just you kind of have to hop on the opportunity in the city. So yeah, we just did it through a video, and the first time I saw it was when we got the keys. So it was, I mean, we live in a wonderful neighborhood. We joke that majority of the people here are retired. So we have a lot of friends with gray hair that we meet while we walk our dog, and it's quite nice. So
So throughout everything that you've been doing, what was like the biggest kind of like struggle that popped up that kind of like just got frustrating?
hmm um oh, I mean, there's a lot of frustrations. Like I won't lie. COVID has been a very, very difficult time for me. Moving cross country during COVID is, I don't recommend it. If you don't have to do it, don't do it. Um, you're already isolated as is. And moving to a new city, I really, really missed my community immensely. And I do understand that if you're in Edmonton, you're also not participating, or maybe you're more now, but especially like during the winter, it was really difficult. So I definitely started reaching out to certain people as soon as I landed here in Ottawa. I'm trying to, make some contacts with like-minded people, but it's not the same, like going for your run collective runs like you do in Edmonton, or you have your run groups, your favorite gym, or all those things. And that's really where I got my like, you got to see people, especially when you work from home. You're just like always in the same space. And it was very difficult for me. I love working from home, but I always had that release valve of leaving the house and getting to go out into the community in some sense. So that's been the one of the most difficult things for me, and I've definitely struggled through it. And that said, like I have wonderful friends who've stayed in contact with me, via text, Zoom calls, Instagram, you name it. Like I talk to people, but after a while, you reach a max of how many, phone calls and Zoom calls you want to be on, and you just want to talk. And even if it's just to go for a walk with a person in, real life, I miss that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like my experience has felt very similar, even though geographically I might be close to a lot of people, but it's just like I feel like a lot of people have forgotten how to reach out to each other and how to make plans and how to make the most of what we can do in life. And when we're kind of talking about like our struggles throughout this whole situation, I feel like a lot of people relate to it and they just don't know how to express it. Like so many times I'll go through Instagram and I'll see somebody post something. I'm like, okay, like this is kind of saying something about this person's experience and it's speaking to me. So I'm just going to just shoot the shit to them and see what's up. Like just say,
Yeah.
hey, how are you? Like, how are you actually?
Yeah.
And then like what I think is an underrated skill is the ability to break the ice and just ask a person if they want to go for a
Mm-hmm.
walk because it does no harm. And like a person might not be in a mood or in a place in their life where they want to just spontaneously do things, but what's the harm in just checking and seeing kind of thing because like that might be the light that somebody needs. But with respect to the people that you have stayed connected with, what has been like the because I'll kind of share something that I've learned in my connections with people over Zoom calls and stuff. Like I've learned that I've been able to grow closer with people virtually than I ever thought possible. Like I feel like I've
Mm-hmm.
made some of my best friends through Zoom calls now. Like people, some cases I've never even met them in person, and we've been able to do like fun social gatherings, and it does get old. But for yourself, given that that was sometimes your only option, like did you have any breakthroughs in all those like Zoom calls and Instagram chats and stuff like that?
Yeah, I started sending a lot more video messages through Instagram. So just like me talking at the phone in a video, just like I have a random thought and I will just send it. And it's fun because it kickstarts a lot of like fun conversations and like thinking about this today moments where, you see something and you're legitimately thinking of someone and you just send them a message and you know that they're going to relate to it. So yeah, I've definitely been using video messages quite a bit more. One of my friends that Ali, I work with her actually quite a bit on client work. She calls me just like randomly, and I kind of love it now. We joke if we don't talk for a day or like see each other's faces for a day. And we used to work in the same office. And so she left and she now does her own work and brings me on just to help with support her in client work. So we've maintained and are like actually have grown our friendship over COVID. Like I moved across the country, but now I just feel it's like I talk to Ali every single day, whether it's text, phone call, or video call, and it's just been lovely. And yeah, I figure there's just maybe not figure, but I agree with I've been able to grow certain relationships over COVID that I'm not sure maybe they would have grown as much if we were in town because the expectation would be that you have to like see that person in person versus now it's like we're never going to see each other. So I'm just going to always message you or send you this random, video message of something I found. I have my plant friends, and today I picked up a cabinet for my plant friend, or for my plant. I have a winter project now, and I messaged my plant friends this like crazy cabinet that almost didn't fit in our van. And, I don't know if I would have done that if I were living in Edmonton. And, it's like this weird life moments, and I'm just sharing them one on one.
Well, I think like something that stands out to me when you're making those reflections is just like people's communication styles have like enhanced. Like we've learned
Mm,
how to relay messages and add context to the things that we say. And people have had to like lean into conversations to discover the context. Like there's so many things that a person can have on social media that could easily upset a person, but then if you have a conversation, then you start to learn more about that other person. Like you might not change your mind, but you're gonna have a greater understanding. Like
mhm.
similar to how if a person works like 5 jobs before they work the job that they end up working with a colleague, like they're going to have more emotional intelligence based on their broad experiences. And so if someone's had to communicate via multiple platforms and learn new technology, they're probably going to have more breakthroughs in the people that
Mhm.
they were previously talking to.
I definitely feel, sorry to break in there, but I definitely feel like my relationship to social media has changed. And I don't know if you feel it, but like um, I go days now without like posting to my stories, but I definitely will message my friends instead. And I have kind of like, it's my job. Like I already have to be on social media for, work and for my clients, and I'm doing it all the time. So I don't feel the need to like share every personal moment anymore. I've definitely kind of moved beyond that. Like I'm happy to, bring people along for things I'm excited about, but I definitely don't feel this like pressure to show up on social media as much. Especially just like over COVID, I don't know if it was the best for my mental health all the time. And there were times where I like completely would just choose not to post, choose not to post to stories, not try to, take too much in, because it is very curated. And I do really appreciate when people are honest, and it doesn't have to be dramatic, but I'm on Instagram at this point in my life to be connected with my friends and family. And so I'm less likely to feel, excited or inspired by things that feel overly perfect or overly curated or like all about inspo quotes and stuff like that. I'm just like, sure, whatever. Like I have Pinterest for that. Like whatever. I don't need to see it on Instagram. Like I actually just am here because I want to message my friend and like send a video message or something like that. So I definitely feel like my relationship to social media has changed for my own mental health, and it's still something that I'm not perfect at, but it's so easy to compare yourself, especially during COVID. When I'm like, I will admit, like I'm a workaholic right now, and it's by design and by choice. Like my partner's doing his postdoc, he works 12 hours, and I thought, you know what, I'm just gonna do the same thing and get as much done as I can in the next, basically 2 years, and see where I can get out, on the at the end of that. And it's yeah, like my career is growing phenomenally, but it is crazy. And to then hop onto social media and be like, it's like highlight reel everyone. I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I don't know how good that is to see.
Well, I'm glad that you added that in because I think it's an important thing for people to hear and to see because like I myself, like I have to mute all kinds of stuff. I have to kind of set boundaries
Hmm.
and rules and delete the app at times and certain things just set me off. Like I saw some stuff this morning. I was, "Oh man, that made me feel shitty." And then I like thought about it critically and I was okay, like did anything in my life actually change? Like did anything that physically happened to me change or is it just something that I saw that kind of like set me off. And yeah, it was something that I
Hmm.
saw that set me off. And so I just had to distance myself from it. It's not it's not like detaching yourself from being an empathetic, caring person. It's taking care of yourself so that you can be your best when your moment comes. Like when you have to change somebody's tire, you're in a good place
Hmm.
where you can just get in the car and change their tire rather than letting like technology drag a person down. But like you said, it is part of your work and Instagram just keeps changing. Like how have you navigated that? Like
I'm trying not to lose my mind. Yeah, it's driving me nuts. I don't think Instagram is like dead. I know some people are like saying Instagram is dead. It's not. It's evolved, and I think the people that want to play by the rules of Instagram go at it, go for it. I think it just I wouldn't I wouldn't look at Instagram. Oh boy, how do I say this? I think it's like if you're a business, I would just be very critical about where you put your energy and effort and time and money. There could be other ways or other methods that might be more beneficial to you. I jokingly said I have Pinterest for that. I'm a big fan of Pinterest, actually. It's over 400 million users, mostly women with average household income over $100,000, and they use it to shop. So if you're like selling like a CPG product, if you're selling, crafts, or you are creating crafts, you're an artist or something like that, like invest, like, yeah, of course, be on Instagram, but like I hope you're investing some time into Pinterest because people are saving that and it can really drive traffic for you. So I'm also spending more time working on, actual content for blogs and email lists and diversifying that way. And it's something that, that's something I'm working on even for myself with Ali. And we have one more partner with us, Iona. So there's the three of us, and we just started an email list because the reality is it's like we have a ton of information. Like I'm a photographer, I do social media, design communication. We have a graphic industrial designer and we have a brand specialist. And sometimes Instagram is just like not enough. You know what I mean? Like we want to be thought leaders. We want to share this information and gather clients and share our information with like our friends that want to follow along. And yeah, we're doing an email list and a blog because we own that content, we control that content, we get to share where we want. It's totally different. Like we did, or like I didn't sleep last week because we randomly last second decided to do a brand review of the political parties and put it on YouTube, and that's fun, and it's a long format. It's an hour long, right? So just actually starting to control and own our content. Like no one's going to change the rules on our own blog, and it might take time and it's going to be slow, but it'll be worth it, in a bit of time. And yeah, I just think like Instagram is not the end all be all. It used to be really, really fun, and now it's kind of like, ugh.
Oh,
I
absolutely.
think
Like
that's the best noise I can give it. Ugh.
it's something that I totally agree with. When I think about it, I think about well, you mentioned the email list. I actually signed up for it earlier today, and I think that's important for everybody to
Welcome.
have. Well, I was like, I'm getting in on this. Like, I know that I'm gonna learn something. Like, even if
Yeah.
it's like distanced from what I do, like I'm sure it will align with a lot of the things that I do. But it's just like anytime somebody has an email list, like the thing is people are motivated when they're creating an email list, they need to retain those people, so there is
Hmm.
some kind of motivation to keep putting out good stuff,
Hmm.
to maintain people's attention and to make sure that they're actually reading through it all, because you nobody has to stay on it. Like just like I sign up for email lists, I also unsubscribe from some. Like I
Hmm.
unsubscribed from somebody who was teaching me how to get dates, and I was like, this guy doesn't know what he's talking about. I'm unsubscribing.
Was it Mark Groves or whatever?
No, no, no. It wasn't a household name, so I won't get attacked or anything. It was just
Mm,
that it was like I sign up, I see what's there, and then if it's
yeah.
not for me, I leave. So what
Mm,
is it like to kind of run that? Because that is big industry. Like there are copywriters who create content that
hmm.
retain eyes.
Hmm.
So like what has your experience with that been like?
Yeah, it's been great because that's definitely an area I want to develop in professionally. Yeah, whether eventually like I hire copywriters or whatever it is, one of my goals ultimately is just to be paid for my brain. And that means I have to write down my thoughts and I have to become more articulate. And it's a really great form of practice. And much like if you start any social channel, it's going to probably evolve and I'm not going to be perfect every time. And what we have done and what I really appreciate with Ali and Iona is we're trying to break up our work as much as possible. I still have a full-time job, so I'm not, as active as I am with the clients, like Ali and Iona. It's their full-time thing. And then I step in to do research, to write some copy, things like that. We were working on some really cool brands, and I just bring my experience to the table. And then I kind of try to own the content creation for our side. That said, because there's three of us, we rotate who writes the emails. So it's been really good. It's basically on like a schedule that we have, and every 4 weeks I am responsible for writing an email. And then in between that time, I write additional blogs and I create blogs out of the emails that they have written. So it's been really nice. And we all kind of have decided what topic we're going to write about just to help us stay consistent, build the information over time. And then it's nice because the people receiving the emails are hearing from three professionals on three different kind of topics, right? So I call it design school. It's not really like only design, but I joke that it's like all the stuff that you have to learn at design school is so broad. And my goal is, if once a month I send you this email, that you feel comfortable at least asking the right questions, because everything in your life is designed, whether you think it is or not. And my last email was actually about silent design. And it's basically people who have to do design work, not knowing that they're doing design work. And then how does that interact with designers? So let's say you start your podcast and you created your thumbnails or like your, what do you call the
Yeah,
thumbnail,
thumbnails.
right?
That's what I would call
Yeah.
them.
Yeah, that's design, right? But maybe you wouldn't call yourself capital D designer. So, that's what I talk about. Ali talks a lot about what she's learned from her clients or what she's seeing in these like client interactions, and then bringing kind of a humanistic approach to it. So, her last email was about wounds, actually. Like your wounds will show up in your business, and it is so true. Like we have been in the boardroom where we've had CEOs say something and it's like, this is nuts, this is nothing to do with your business, this is 100% because something happened in your life and that thing is now impacting your business. And then Iona is really going like the visual route. So she's going to be building, why it's important to have hierarchy. Why is it important to care about this typeface? Or, eventually we're going to be talking about, or she's going to be talking about some of the work. We cannot share who our clients are quite yet. It's like kind of a gag order on that until we're done, but she'll be eventually showing the process of like, how many iterations of a logo does it take to get to the last one and why? Like what happened? We're going to just like expose it all. So I'm pretty excited, and it alleviates that stress, right? So I have a whole month to think about what I'm going to write about, but we're still releasing weekly emails, which allows us to stay in contact with our followers and those that subscribe.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of takeaways for that. Like, I purposefully bring on like a mix of guests for this with the purpose of it serving the fitness industry, but also like the general population.
Mm-hmm.
And just thinking about that and thinking about where people are kind of like an independent trainer might get mad at like Peloton for taking their business when the gyms
Mm.
get closed. But at the same time, like what did that independent trainer do to differentiate themselves? Did they work on
Mm-hmm.
their brand? Did they work on their communication? Did they work on their design of like how their posts kind of catch people's attention? Or did they go into like I know a lot of people in like the mentoring space have actually delved into Pinterest because as you
Mm-hmm.
said you outlined like the target audience, and that is a great target audience. And it's like I think about it now, I'm like, ooh, I should probably get on
Yeah.
Pinterest.
You should get on Pinterest. And Pinterest is wonderful because they also show a lot of the analytics that I feel Instagram doesn't. Instagram will show you a level of analytics, and you can definitely pay for additional, information through a different platform, whether it's like Hootsuite or Later or whatever it is. But Pinterest, I feel, is like trying to almost overshare. They're like, look exactly what's happening, and they will share trends. They will share what people are pinning. So you can like look at your demographic and what are they looking for right now. So it's really interesting. Like it'll break it down by the country and be like, hey, did you know like people in Canada right now care about like this type of design, or like that they're looking for this type of workout? And it's just fascinating because you can then just create content in that route. And I mean, you can pick and choose. It's not like they're telling you five things. Like they release reports regularly where they give like trend reports, and they also do holiday reports, which was really powerful because it allowed me to even show, my boss, be like, FYI, like here is proof that people are not shopping in December for holiday gifts. Like you're almost missing the boat if you're selling in November. Like people basically end of October are shopping for the holidays. So like what are you doing at the last week of October to be talking holidays? And I don't think that you even have to think about it as only for products. Like if you're a personal trainer, January 1st is coming. Like that is like go time. That is like when people are buying their memberships, is when people are making their resolutions. So like I would challenge someone to then be like, okay, so what are you actually talking about in November and then December and then building? So by the time January 1st hits and they're like, yeah, I actually have to do something, you're the first name that they think of. Because if you're posting on January 1st, like, hey, resolutions, I'm gonna be like, tough luck. They've already gone to someone else. It's too late. Like you miss us by 12 weeks.
Well, I mean, it's so true, and it kind of makes me think about something that I reflected on over the last couple days. I revamped my website, and in doing so, I was linking up some podcasts that I had been on, and I listened to one that I had been on in like 2019, and I was like, oh wow, I'm like saying a lot of the same things that I'm saying today, and I personally like that when I see someone having like the same like values year after year after year.
Mm,
It builds trust. Like it tells me
mm,
that that person is going to do what they say they're going to do, especially if you can go back, hear them say that they're going to do something, then follow their journey and see that they did exactly that.
mm-hmm.
How important is that for you when you're like representing brands? Like, how do you communicate that? Like, I know you enough that I know that you kind of agree on that, but like, how do you convey that out into the various social media platforms?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because we're going through evolution right now with my like in-house job. We're evolving as a brand, for sure. At the core, I'll use them as example because it's kind of easy to talk about that way. But at the core, it was always design forward. Um, and now we're moving towards actually just trying to work with artists more. And so we're trying to move away from like this image of being a huge company, which I the marketing side, like when I worked with Ali, we always were like, it's not helping us to act like we're this huge company, to be real. Like when you DM this, my company, I'm the one replying. I'm also the, support. So like this morning, someone ordered a product in red and I got the email asking, can they swap to white? Like I hopped on Shopify. I took care of it. Like we're not huge, and then I'm also the product photographer. I'm also the illustrator for our decals. Like I'm all these things. And so we're finally, I think, actually coming closer to who we are. Like I feel like we're finally aligning who we are and showing our audience. I think it's like good because before we're this air quotes huge company, creative, design forward, and that now needs to evolve. I think to be more authentic. So I think sticking to your values is important, but then having a level of like openness to evolve because I think we're actually moving in the correct direction and you're a human as well. Like a brand is a brand is a brand, but you're a human and you're allowed to change your mind. You're allowed to evolve and grow and learn. And so is your company allowed to do that. And maybe you'll lose some followers, who cares? Because you'll gain the right ones. So I think like if you know that value and the thread for my company is like creativity. And so we're sticking to that, but we're actually getting closer to who we really are. Does that make sense? Like we've always been design forward. We're still going to be design forward. The difference is we're actually being more authentic because in the past we're like, we're huge. Now we're like, actually, there's like four of us. And we're still designing creative and like we're going to be human about this.
Yeah, it does make sense, and it kind of correlates with something that I see. Like within fitness, there's people that have their different certifications, they have their different training styles, and if somebody changes their mind as to like how they're going to prescribe exercise, it can upset people. But at the same time, you
Mm-hmm.
should almost be open minded to different exercise modalities because at the end of the day, the people are in fitness to get some buy-in from the
Hmm.
consumer, to get them to actually want to do it continually and not be discouraged and feel seen and heard and like have some reason of their own to do fitness. Just like you can have all these different boutique studios and they can all run well in the same neighborhood, in the same proximity, because they're
Hmm.
each catering to a different person, kind of thing. So I think that
Hmm.
whole open mindedness and ability to evolve and just self awareness to know what is important to be communicated to the audience is pretty important and underrated. Because, like, if a person evolves but they like completely change everything, like I have seen some Instagram personalities go from like a life coach to a business coach in the span of a year. And I'm like, I don't think that that doesn't work. Like,
So what I would say is that okay, well, there's these like different scenarios you can create, right? So if you're building a company that you're going to sell and you're like, I'm going to be here for 2 years or I'm going to build it for 3 years, you obviously just really want to have like this consistent, strong brand and it's packaged and you're going to sell it and someone's going to take over it. My company's actually just going through that right now. We built a brand. Actually, I built it with Ali. It's done phenomenally and we're selling it. And it's like this really awesome thing that we've created. And that message has never changed and it won't change. And it's when someone purchases it, they're welcome to let it evolve to align with what they need, but it's successful because of this brand that we created. Now we're human, right? And you and I were talking about trainers and things like that. So bringing it to that, like, you're human, and I think just be who you really want to be from the get-go, or move towards that as soon as you can, because you're gonna hate what you're doing if it's not really who you are in 2 years. And that's kind of where I imagine, you have these weird moments where you're like, I thought you were a coach, and now you're like this whatever, right? Because they're flip-flopping because they're realizing it's exhausting to do something you're not really wanting to do, or maybe it's not truly their passion, or maybe they picked this career path because they thought this is where I'm going to make money, whatever. And like, you're allowed to change your mind. Like,
mhm.
you're a human, you're allowed to change your mind. But I think just try to, when it comes to social, especially as a person or a trainer, the closer you are to who you really want to be, or bring along your audience for that journey of discovery, that's it's only going to work in your favor. And you're not Nutella, you're not going to make everyone happy, so don't try to force it, because you're going to have to keep up this image. Like, do you really want to have to fake it? Like,
Well, I mean, some helpful context for people. Most of my posts are generally pretty positive. I still piss people off. Like, I don't do it intentionally, but people get mad, people unfollow me.
yeah,
So
yeah,
you can't please everybody, even if you have the best of intentions. So don't get hung up over it because it's not gonna do well for your mental health. Like, you're literally
yeah.
gonna lose sleep over it, which isn't good for anybody, especially like for me to advocate for somebody to lose sleep over something that would kind of go against my beliefs as a personal trainer. So it's
Hmm.
like, be authentic and own the fact that, like, you're gonna upset people and you're not even gonna have the answer why. It's kind of like you talked about, like people kind of projecting what they're battling with into the brand or into the board meeting kind of thing, and realizing like, oh yeah, that has nothing to do with the company. That is something that you are battling with. Like, people do that on social
Hmm.
media all the time.
100%. And social, it's often people hide behind it, right? And some people will post with their name, and there's a lot of people that will have an avatar and comment or post with something they could hide behind, and it's just the reality. I'm on Reddit a lot.
Oh.
I actually love Reddit. I love Reddit. I just, someone like, if I find a post, I will always read the comments because I find them so fascinating. And I will say, I obviously kind of curate what I'm willing to follow. And, there's awesome like fitness communities, there's amazing photographer and art communities that I follow. And I definitely learn a lot. I'm a lurker. I don't comment a lot, but I get a lot out of it. And yeah, people will just say whatever they want to say because it's easy on social media to hide. Like, how many times have you read a comment and been like, you would have never said that to someone in real life to their face.
Every single day. I'm like, I wish these people had the guts to like hop on a Zoom call with the person they're saying it to, because like they wouldn't be able
Hmm.
to get the words out of their mouth. Like that is a lot of pressure to say some of the things that people are saying in comment threads, and to
Hmm.
actually see a person's reaction, the emotions that that would bring. Like just seeing people wish for a business to close, no matter what the context is, no matter what year it
Mm.
is. If it's a like an independent business owner, like you got to have some big balls to say that to somebody, because the reaction that you're going to get is going to be like extremely passionate.
Hmm.
So I wish people couldn't hide behind the private account or the anonymous whatever it is, because it's just it doesn't do any good. But something that stands out about what you do is like your photography. Like I'll
Hmm.
go scroll through things, and just how you capture moments, and whatever process that you go through to edit it stands out. And I've even like sent people to your account to check it out, like different content creators that I know that are looking for other accounts to follow, because I'm like, well, her work stands out. So like, how did you get to that level? Like, what were the things that you had to do to kind of like build up the blocks?
Yeah, yeah. I'm very lucky that I have friends in the industry that are way ahead of me. Early on, I don't want to say stumbled, but I kind of stumbled across a couple of accounts in Alberta. Alberta has a phenomenal photography community. It's very strong. And I made some really great friends. And I actually, one of them is Lost Coordinate. So he encouraged me to also apply for a Travel Alberta kind of like program that they had. And I was shocked that they like accepted me. Like I would be like in a room and be like, oh my God, the guy next to me has like 50,000 followers. And I'm like, I think at the time maybe had 2,000. And like, I don't have a ton more now, but I felt really, really lucky. And they're good people. So they just kind of cheer you on, and they like, they would answer my questions, and I just practice a ton. And that's like, I bring my camera everywhere. And I'm very lucky that I'm surrounded with people that kind of have faith in me. Like they'll see my work and they'll hire me. And I think of, Browns, like I originally was hiring Des Isles. So I would hire her to do the photography, and she moved. And Nahi, the owner, was like, why don't you just do the photos? I was like, oh my God, I can't. Like, I'm not a good photographer. And he's like, are you crazy? So I just started doing the photos, and I started doing the photos for the account. And then like I evolved. Like I look back on some of the photo shoots I did when I first started doing them, and I was like, I mean, they're not horrible, but I definitely could do them better now. And now like I have Hannah. I don't live in Edmonton anymore, so I hire Hannah Hamilton now, and she's phenomenal to work with. If you're in Edmonton, highly recommend her. So I've kind of like just built a community of really good people. I even think of my job that at the time was, my client. And I went from running their social channels to them being like, why don't you just do the product photos? Let's just bring it in house. Let's just do it. And I look back on like what I was doing my first photo shoot versus what I am doing now. And it's like night and day. Like I cannot tell you the difference of like my product photography now. It's just shocking. And it's been within 2 years. I don't think like my portfolio then to now is unreal. So if I were, if I were talking to someone just starting out, I would be like, find a good community, find a couple people that are better than you. I'm really lucky, Braden from Lost Coordinate, he literally will take phone calls with me when I have questions about equipment. Like I'm not like the biggest tech person, and I spend also a ton of time on YouTube learning. I pay for Skillshare. I am constantly practicing. I use my own personal account as a way to try new things because it doesn't matter. Like I do what I want to do. And I think now moving, I'm way more comfortable in editing, like Photoshop as well. These are all skills where it's hours. It's just putting in the time, and it's bringing my camera everywhere. It's taking every opportunity I can take. It's learning. There's no magic behind this. It is literally just put in the hours, and I'm sure you understand that as well for like training or anything, like even yoga, teaching yoga, like anything. You got to just put in the hours, and I still have so far to go. Um, but that's the beauty of these types of crafts. It's like actually never ending. And now I'm like with my editing, I'm really excited. Just even this is the last thing I posted. I was like, my boyfriend surprised me with tickets to the Van Gogh experience, and I've been starting to edit in a little bit of like almost illustration into some of my photos. Yeah, it's just fun letting myself evolve and play and learn, and that's the biggest thing. I think like spend the hours just like figuring it out on YouTube, Google it. It's all there. Get something in a Skillshare and then get a community and just put in the hours and you'll be shocked where you can be within, 6 to 12 months. You won't even recognize your work.
Well, I mean, it's so true, and I like that you mentioned Skillshare because I signed up for it after I saw it in your feed, and like I chatted with you about it, and like it is what it takes. Like you just have to seek out that information, and you talked
Hmm.
about lost coordinates, and like I've chatted with him in the DMs, and he's always been like a very like giving person. Like
Hmm.
his schedule is very full. Sometimes he has to guard his time because like everybody
Hmm.
people are human, but anytime that I've had a question of him, like he has been extremely like supportive and like giving of his time. And that's the beauty of like meeting people like that. Like you mentioned
Hmm.
Nahid, he's one of my favorite people. And just
Hmm.
how he said like why not do the photography. I love that about
Yeah.
him because everybody needs somebody that like that in their life.
Hmm.
If they don't hear that, sometimes they won't even do the thing. And
Hmm.
if anybody wants like a visual representation of how like hard work can pay off, like the compound effect of an effort, like if they did actually go back to episode 24 and then go to episode 199 of this show, like they can even just hear in the tone of my voice like how
Yeah.
practice pays off, which I think is neat. And it just hopefully it reinforces to people who are frustrated that practice does add up to things, but you do have to put
Hmm.
in the work. You do have to dedicate the time to doing the things. With everything that you've learned, everything that you've experienced, and with where you are today, what currently inspires you in life?
Hmm. I I am excited right now to move towards my history of being an artist. I grew up with a mom that's a painter. I I joke that I went to design school because as an artist, I figured no one would ever hire an artist, but they definitely would hire a designer. And yeah, I'm really excited and inspired by artists that I follow. And, looking even at Skillshare, on the side, I take like little illustration classes. One of my favorite illustrators is Burnt Toast, phenomenal, and he has amazing classes on Skillshare. So I definitely have taken them. I actually just saw that he just created another one, so I'm like definitely going to take it. So I'm definitely inspired by art right now. I always have, but I think it's the first time where I've like in a very long time just made a decision that this is where I want to put my time. I am always going to be a photographer. That is, I absolutely love it. And what does it look like? Just to give myself time to create because I want to create something. And perhaps that is more photography, or perhaps it's going to be, more painting. I don't know. But I think I've spent the last year, turning into a banana in front of my computer. So I think finding opportunities to step back, like we're going to go to Niagara this weekend and I'm going to bring my watercolors. And yeah, I think being a little more multidisciplinary as an artist, as a creator, and what keeps popping up in my mind is create art, not just content. So that's kind of where I want to be moving, and it really excites me. Yeah, so that's kind of what I'm most excited about personally. And there's other stuff for my career, like the stuff that I do with Ali and Iona always excites me. We're working on a psychedelics brand right now. It's insane. I freaking love it. I'm reading a book about psychedelics right now. It's just fascinating work. It's like filling my bucket for like knowledge and just like moving into a space where I'm like, I know nothing about this. This is fascinating. So very excited to see where I head with the work that I'm doing with these two amazing women. They challenge me a lot. Like when I get off this call, I have to write a blurb. And it's like it's always like that. It's like I get a random, request like, "Hey, can you write the narrative for this company?" And I'm like, "Whoa, like that's scary." And I'm gonna try because they think I can.
Well, that's like where we grow in life when we're kind of thinking, "Well, I don't know if I can do that." That is kind of intimidating. Like when you kind of force yourself to do that, that's when the big
Hmm.
things happen. As far
Hmm.
as the future for you goes, what is your current big, hairy, audacious goal right now?
Oh, I actually really badly want to have a team. I have that already with Ali and Iona, and we are pushing each other to get to a point where we have built a team out under us. I love working in a team atmosphere, and it's a huge shift mentally for me to go from wanting to be a solopreneur, a one person show, to suddenly being like, I actively want to be responsible for other people's, like, I don't want to say responsible for their career. It's not my responsibility, but I want to be creating opportunities for other creatives. So I am actively, I literally have reached out to someone in BC to be like, hey, I want to take on a new client. Can I hire you to do the copywriting? Though I can do it, I'm choosing to hire someone else and not keep that money. So I haven't like set a number or how big I want it to be, but I definitely see myself in the future as having a team to work with that I have created and cultivated over the years so I can be inspired by people that are better than me. Like I think especially if you're in social media, I'm not going to be on top of every trend for the rest of my life. There's just like no way, so like the next platform that comes out, I don't want to have to run it. I want to have someone that is like very excited about it to run it and create that content, and I want to help them and move them through their career. I just think back on who I was when I graduated university and all the things I wish someone had done for me or done with me or like given me feedback or any of that stuff. I'm just like, I want to create that environment. I want to create an environment where someone can grow as a designer, a copywriter, an artist, and feel safe to make a mistake, God forbid, or like learn a little bit about their business or whatever it is and be like compensated for it. Because, man, I desperately needed a mentor when I was in my 20s and I never had it. It sucked.
Well, everything that you outline there, I think if there's any trainers that are listening to this, like this applies to trainers. Like this is directly applicable because as far as like the long-term sustainability of personal training, like you cannot do it alone. And
Hmm.
as far as like growth of a business or like meeting like financial goals, like you do need to either outsource or create a team. I mean, like some people try to do it all with content creation. They can't. Like some people are going to be
Hmm.
destined to write. Some people are going to be better off doing speaking events. Some people are better off with podcasts. Some people are going to be that person that's on the floor for like 45 sessions a week.
Hmm.
But if you try to do it all, you're just going to burn the candle at both ends. And so when you're able to network and create these meaningful
Hmm.
connections and outsource, like I see some trainers that hire under other trainers under their brand.
Hmm.
I do contracting for other trainers in like the US. So it's like there's always going to be opportunities to level up, but you're going to have to involve other people and you're going to have to make meaningful connections.
Hmm.
Something that I ask all of my guests is to create a challenge of the day for the audience
Hmm.
and something unique to you that you think will be meaningful and impact their life in a positive way. So whenever you're ready, you're just going to be like your challenge for the day is, and then just let them have it.
Hey, my challenge for the day. That's a good one. Okay, so my challenge for the day, I'm gonna actually challenge everyone to send a video message to someone in their life. Get your face on a phone and send a video message. It doesn't have to be a phone call. I think just send out a little bit of a connection. I think now more than ever, we need to default to being humans and just being kind and just sending messages. Skip the text, send a voice memo or sorry, a face memo. How about that?
I agree. Like, I think that's so important. I think sometimes people are reluctant to do things like that because they're like, oh, well, it won't matter if I connect with a person. But I would challenge them to
Mm,
reflect on the last time somebody connected with them and how it made them
yeah.
feel. and then realize that they have that same impact on other people in their life, and then just do it. Like don't overthink it. Don't focus on your backdrop or anything like that.
Yeah, I did, Kara and I did a 31-day workout challenge, and it was just 31 days of 30 minutes of movement, and we created um, Instagram groups. There was enough people that we actually had to split it and have two different Instagram groups. And I haven't taught yoga in forever. Like, I am not an online teacher. Like, city yoga is dormant. Like, I just refuse. I'm like, I'm an in-person teacher. It's not who I am. There's people that need that more than I do, in the sense of like that's their career and their passion. When it's back to in studio, I'll go back to that. So I was just missing that community. We did the 31 days, and it was really fascinating in the beginning versus the end, how people were communicating. They really held me accountable. I was literally moving every day, and I challenged people to like get their face on there and just be like, introduce yourself, because there's someone in this group that's going to be your like next friend. And some people were comfortable and some people were uncomfortable. And by the end, it was like, way more normal, and it felt so good because it would like hop on and I'd be like, right, I got to get moving, and this person's cool, look what they're doing, they're hiking, I can at least go for a walk today or something like that. So I think more than ever, like you can still have community even if it's digital. I know it's not for everyone, it's not ideal, but get out of your comfort zone and send that message. I'm gonna bet you'll be surprised in a good way.
Definitely. And with that being said, that'll wrap it up for us today. But I'd like to thank you so much for taking the time to come back on the show.
Always happy to come back.